What's going on, everybody? Fall in, at attention. You are locked into a special episode, a little segment we're starting. Hopefully we turn this into a regular thing. We're going to call it RecoN Husker Legends Briefing. We're going to have some former Huskers on, talk to us about how they feel about the team right now, the week's upcoming game. And today on the Husker Army podcast, we are blessed, honored, thrilled to have one of the most influential former black shirts I think Nebraska's ever had. You know him as the host of the People's Show. I got to welcome Adam Carriker. Thank you so much, Adam. How are you doing?
Oh, I'm glorious. How are you doing?
Man, it's the day before the game, a Friday night game in Lincoln, another night game, 4 games in a row. Not for night, but 4 home games in a row. And I couldn't be more ecstatic. I'll be there tomorrow night, so I'm looking forward to it.
It's going to be, I don't know if you can beat Colorado's atmosphere, but this game reminds me a lot of the Colorado game, like a lot of hype, a lot of excitement. There hasn't been, like 9 months worth of buildup like there was for the Colorado game, the whole revenge and rivalry thing and all this and that. But I don't know, man, it's the 400th consecutive sellout. 2 ranked teams, first time since 2011. We have the opportunity to beat a ranked team for the first time since 2016. We beat Oregon. And I got to believe, if we win and we're favored by 8 points at this point in time, I feel like we have a very good chance to do so, probably vault into the top 20 somewhere. So I feel like it's going to be a similar atmosphere, at least, to what the Colorado game was.
I'd have to agree. Looking at the crowd this last week with Northern Iowa, yes, they were hyped the entire time. But you could tell that not just the fan base itself, but even maybe some of the players were still a little bit drained from that game against Colorado. But the fans were still there, and they were still loud.
Oh, yeah. I think Husker fans are always going to be there. They're always going to be loud. But, at the end of the day, human tendency is, you're going to get a little bit more hyped for certain things and other things. Mm-hmm. And that goes along with football games and teams that your favorite football team is playing as well.
Absolutely, yeah. It was Colorado. It's just sheer hatred between the two programs. So, you're going to get way more hyped for that.
I agree. I think it's funny. It's the first time I've ever really seen Husker fans kind of look at Colorado as a true rival. It was always kind of that little brother, big brother. And even me, man, just to piss Colorado people off. And I still feel this way. I was like, nah, you're just the little brother. This isn't a true rivalry. And yeah, that made them mad. And then they turn right around and they play CSU, and that's their little brother. They got the win, but you got to have fun with it sometimes.
Yeah, if you look at the series matchup, it's really not even close. It's definitely lopsided in Nebraska's favor. So they did get the last 3 in a row, but hey, I'd say we got the last laugh, so I'm okay with it.
Yeah, I don't even know when we're supposed to play them again. I know they want to play us every year, and that sounds okay. I prefer to play, I don't know, maybe like Oklahoma or something every year. Like our schedule isn't tough enough, but like I look at Oklahoma as like a true rival, and I think Iowa's building into that. I think actually if Nebraska won a few more games, that would actually make it more of a rivalry, if I'm being fair there. Hopefully we get that win this year, but Iowa's building into a rivalry too, a true rivalry.
Oh, absolutely. I'll have to agree there. Colorado for me is always going to be number 1. It's just sheer hatred. Iowa's a close second. Then Texas, but Oklahoma, even though they are a rival, I've always had respect for Oklahoma. That's the difference.
Yeah, I agree. I think there's different types of rivalries, and the way you view another team, another program, a lot of times can be very different. Even if you're considered rivals, that R word doesn't translate to meaning the same exact thing for every single rivalry across the board. Like the way I look at and I view Oklahoma is completely different than the way I look at and I view Colorado or Iowa or even Texas. So, I view Oklahoma a little bit differently.
All right. Yeah. See, rivalries it's a part of college football. It's almost a part of any sport, period. And you just got to embrace it. You got to love it. Some are going to be bigger rivalries than others, but hey, rivalries are rivalries. I'll take it anytime. So, all right, real quick, guys, like and subscribe on YouTube. It helps us out a lot. We really appreciate it. We've hit over 300 subscribers on YouTube. Thank you so much, Husker Nation. We are damn happy and proud that has happened. Get closer to that 500 mark. We'll start getting monetized. Of course, you see the merch right there. You go to hurrdatsports.com. Check it out. We got shirts, hats, beanies, stainless steel tumblers, the mugs, and like I said, the wearable, that is not the only color it comes in. It's not just black, and it's not the only design either. So go check those out, hurrdatsports.com. And then, of course, because of who our guest is today, I got to let you know, if you don't know by now, Carriker Chronicles, it's the people's show. This man's got his fingers on the pulse of Husker Nation constantly, making sure we're still breathing. Go check that out at carrikerchronicles.com. You see it right there if you're watching on YouTube. Awesome stuff. I'm so glad he's got everything on his own site now. It's so easy to find. Go check it out, carrikerchronicles.com. And then, of course, real quick, because he's here, Adam Carriker is officially enlisted into the Husker Army podcast. He's with the Husker Army now. So there it is. You see it, guys. That's what it is. All right, Adam. Pressed for time. I know that. Let's talk about the defense of this year real quick. What are your overall thoughts? Because personally, for me, I was worried we wouldn't see a much, much better product than what we saw by the end of last season. But I got to be honest, they've exceeded my expectations and have gotten better each week.
Yeah, when you look at the black shirts, you kind of anticipated them being the strength of the team. There was less question marks over there anyways.
Yes.
You look at the offense, obviously Dylan Raiola has a high ceiling because he's a young and experienced true freshman, a low floor as well. They tend to go hand in hand. So there was more question marks on offense, a lot more transfer players over there. But you look at the defense, you got a lot of guys coming back. You got a lot of senior leadership. You got the entire two deep on the D line as an example. It's not just Nash and Ty, but it's everyone else. Cam Lenhard, Jamari Butler, they're all back.
Ben Popple's been contributing as well.
Yeah, there's just a lot less question marks. So it's like, all right, worst case scenario, we're as good as we were last year, but hopefully we can get better and better. And even Rule has talked about, well, what does better and better look like? All right, it looks like forcing more turnovers. It looks like making the big play on defense. And it looks like even scoring on defense. And the defense has been able to do that so far this year, the team as a whole. And the offense has obviously made improvements in this area as well, but the team as a whole is +3 in the turnover margin. That was not the case a year ago, and it hasn't been that case for quite a few years. But that's also the defense forcing some turnovers as well as the offense taking care of the ball. Yeah. The defense has scored in our first 2 games this year with the safety and the pick 6. So for me, the one thing that wasn't talked about a ton last year, and I haven't heard talked about a ton this year, the other way of stepping it up isn't just results on the field and stats and even scoring and forcing more turnovers. It's playing great against great offenses. Last year, we didn't play a ton of great offenses. I mean, you could argue maybe Colorado was the best one if you go throughout the whole year as a whole.
Yeah.
But that was really about it. This year, we're not going to face a ton of them. All right, obviously, Colorado's got a lot of big explosive play opportunities, not a well-rounded offense or team or program in general. But they can make big explosive plays with elite athletes and a great quarterback. And so we did very well holding them to 10 points. Holy cow. And then we score a touchdown. So really they only benefited 3 points on us, the Colorado offense versus the black shirt D. So you can't get much better than that. And obviously we got Illinois coming up, and that's the priority. But you look down the road a little bit because we're not a player and a coach, and we can afford to do that. Ohio State down the road, that's an opportunity to step foot on the field against an elite offense. USC, I mean, anytime you're playing a Lincoln Riley offense. So we'll get there.
That's at the Coliseum, too.
Yeah, we're going to get there, and we're going to get to those games, and I don't want to put the cart before the horse too much. So far, forcing more turnovers, scoring on D. As we go along throughout this season, I want to see how we do as the offenses get better from game to game.
Yeah, I've got to agree. What I've seen from both sides of the ball so far this year is they're playing how they should be playing these games instead of playing down to the competition, as we saw all of last year, probably the year before, and years before that even. So it's been encouraging to see these guys rise up, keep the intensity the entire game long, and just be relentless. And on defense, relentless, violent, but disciplined for the most part. There's a few times, but like you said, the turnover battle it's in our favor and hasn't been for probably the better part of a decade. And the way the offenses took care of the ball, the way the defense is shutting things down, they've bent but not broke. And not to mention the open field tackles that they're making now that normally we would see in past years were missed and would become big plays and would hurt us. So to see the sure-handed tackling, things like that, and the flow, my God, I cannot say enough about what I've seen out of these guys this year.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think it's funny when you play a violent sport and you play the side of the ball that requires the most violence on the team, which is defense. You know, it can be hard to keep your emotions in check sometimes and stay violent, yet stay disciplined. It's the most challenging probably for a defensive player and an offensive lineman. It's probably the most challenging for those position groups. Probably an offensive lineman even more so than a DB, just the way what they're asked to do at various positions. But Matt Rule, you can tell, like, we're going to play hard. We're going to be physical. We're going to be blue collar smash mouth. We're going to go to war for this guy. That's how his players see playing for Matt Rule. But at the same time, he's detail oriented. A lot of times when you have a player oriented coach and it's about attitude and effort as much as anything else, sometimes you'll have a coach where it's more about X's and O's. But when you have a players type coach like this, one of the things that tends to go hand in hand is sometimes they're not the most disciplined because you are going all out and you are laying it out all out on the field. And there's a lot of emotions involved in that, and it can make it more challenging. But Matt Rule's also a detail oriented guy, and part of those details is being disciplined. And so his teams at Temple and Baylor, and you're already starting to see it here at Nebraska, they're able to kind of walk a fine line of being violent and physical, yet being disciplined at the same time. It's not like, you know, and I'm not even trying to take a shot at Colorado. It's not like a team like Colorado that is just all over the place and you got to fight in the locker room to prove you're tough. It's not like Miami of the 80s and early 90s where it was insane talent, insanely good teams, insane violence on the field, and absolutely no discipline, which is why it didn't last longer than it did.
Exactly. Yeah, that's one thing you could say about Colorado is they do have players, but they don't have a team.
They have a collection of mercenaries. That's what they have.
Thank you. Man, that's probably the best way I've ever heard it put, too, in like the last 2-3 weeks. That was perfect. All right, now quickly about the game coming up tomorrow night. I mean, we just talked about it. Defense going up against Illinois' offense. Right now, defense is nationally ranked at 23rd right now, allowing just a little over 255 yards a game. And I looked up Illinois' offense. They're ranked 79th. I mean, look, I'm not going to take that too much into consideration because if you look at the scores of their games, they won them as they should. 45-0 in the first game over Eastern Illinois. The next game, they had a ranked Kansas team in Illinois. They won that 23-17. And then just last week hosted Central Michigan and won 30-9. So they may not be putting up yards, but they're doing what we're doing. They're getting the lead, and then they're pretty much just doing what they want on offense, and it's not putting up a bunch of numbers. So our defense has got to be prepared because Bielema, that little sneaky butterball, man, he'll try anything. So those guys need to be on their toes.
Yeah, it's interesting. When you look at Illinois, they've actually been outgained. The two FBS teams that they played, they've been outgained by both teams, and they were outrushed pretty significantly, almost 100 yards by Kansas. But the reason they're still able to put up points, even though they're struggling to run the ball, Luke Altmaier's playing well. All right, no interceptions on the year, completing 69% of his passes. The turnover machine from a year ago, as I called him, has all of a sudden turned into a good quarterback that takes care of the ball, at least so far this year. I'm hoping that changes tomorrow on Friday. But they've also got two big-bodied wide receivers. They got some guys who might be playing in the NFL on Sunday at some point, and they can get the ball to them, especially in a condensed field, because the reason they're scoring so many points but not a lot of yards right now is they've forced 9 turnovers on defense. Their secondary has 6 interceptions, and they've only produced 1 turnover on offense. Produced is a weird way to put that. They've only coughed the ball up once on offense, so their turnover margin is number 2 in the country at +8. So their offense has big-bodied wide receivers you can just throw the ball up to. They can win in a condensed area, which is going to be advantage to the taller, bigger body. And so they're able to do it, and they have short fields, so they don't need to take these long drives. And, you know, again, when we play Colorado, I was like, and this is why I keep coming back to Colorado, I do not see a lot of similarities from the head coach to how Illinois wants to play and Colorado wants to play. But I see a lot of similarities in how I think the atmosphere is going to be, how important the game is. I see a lot of similarities in how I feel like the game could go, because Illinois is a team that could beat us. It also wouldn't surprise me if we won by 2 touchdowns. I just want to win, but there's a lot of similar feelings in there. And so for me, when it was with Colorado, I was like, they depend on big plays. They can't run the ball. They can't protect they're not disciplined. There's no way they're going to move the ball consistently up and down the field on the black shirts if we force them to. I feel the same way about Illinois. They don't run the ball well. They're more disciplined than Colorado was, but they depend on the short field, and they haven't had to go the length of the field very many times this year. And I mean, is Luke Altmaier all of a sudden immune to turnovers, especially when they can't run the ball, especially when we've been able to get pressure on opposing quarterbacks with only bringing 4, maybe 5-man rushes, not even having to blitz a ton? Like, I just don't feel like if they have to go the full length of the field and we take care of the ball, they can do that consistently against the black shirts.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. And anybody that's watching or just listening, I want you to know that Adam is only on audio. Okay, so he can't see what I'm putting up here. But the fact that he brought up Luke Altmaier's stats is hilarious, because I had a graphic for it. And it was comparing him with Raiola through 3 games. And you're absolutely correct, Adam. Luke Altmaier's completing 69.2% so far. You got Raiola at 73.8%. So Raiola is just a little over 4.5% better than him. His passing yards are at 647, 6 touchdowns on the year, no interceptions, and 8.3 yards per attempt. Now, what I do like about seeing that, though, no interceptions, I think that's going to change tomorrow night. I really do. It's one of those things. We did the same thing, I think it was 1994 against Chad May in Kansas State. He was on it seems like we do it to a lot of quarterbacks, and they're on a run of not throwing interceptions. So I think the black shirts get a pick this tomorrow night. So,
dude, that's a great poll. I remember Chad May. I remember that Kansas State team. And I have no idea why I have this random memory in my childhood memory bank, but I have this memory on Christmas Day. I got a bike as a kid, and I remember Kansas State was playing Boston College in like the Hawaii Bowl. Oh. And and then I don't remember who won. I want to guess Kansas State, but I just remember going outside, riding the bike, and I'm watching Chad May and Kansas State play Boston College in Hawaii on Christmas Day.
Yeah, that's why I just call myself a Husker fanatic. I have been since I could form a thought or a memory. So a lot of those times, I was born in 1982, so a lot of it's burned into the memory pretty severely, but I don't mind.
Yeah, there's no doubt about it. There's a lot of things that I remember. Okay, so it's good for what I do for a living. It could be bad for the marriage because I'm not so great at remembering certain things I'm supposed to do. And she'll be like, you can remember X, Y, and Z from 1982. You weren't even born until 1984, but you couldn't do this, and this. And I'm like, those are all factually true. Now, can I defend myself? And she's like, no. And I'm like, you're probably right.
Adam, I'm right there with you. I have been married 21 years. And yes, I have heard that exact same thing numerous times throughout 21 years. So it must just be a Husker thing inside a marriage. And my wife is not a football fan, but she will sit and watch games with me for support. And I've needed it the last 8 years. So, but yes, I've heard that exact same thing come out of her mouth, and she's absolutely right.
Well, luckily I married a Nebraska girl, a football fan, a college football fan. So I think she understands. It doesn't mean she always enjoys and appreciates it, though.
I agree. I know exactly how it goes. So, all right. So, real quick, Adam, that's pretty much it. We've already got you about the 20-minute mark. We're pushing it. So, real quick, What do you got for a score prediction? Or if you want to just predict a W, that's A-okay as well.
So I do predict Nebraska to win. And I remember going into the Colorado game, just like the closer the game got, I'm just like, I would tell people I feel really good about this game. And I feel I'd be surprised if we lost. Then the day of the game, I remember texting a buddy of mine, and I texted him this exact phrase. I said, I'd be shocked if we lost this game. And then as the game started to unfold and we built a lead, it was not surprising because part of me was like, I knew this was possible and I kind of thought it would happen, but it was surreal just because I'm not used to it right now. I'm not used to seeing this. And so with Illinois, I do think Illinois presents issues in certain areas that Colorado doesn't. Colorado presented issues in certain areas that Illinois doesn't, but I feel relatively similar. I don't know that we're going to be up 28-0 at halftime, and I sure hope we don't get outscored 10-0 in the second half. So I do hope there are some differences from the Colorado game in certain aspects. The final score would be great, but I just feel like we do have the more talented team. I would give the advantage to Nebraska on offense, on defense. They probably have the edge on special teams because our kicking game is a huge question mark. And they have two kickers who've made 40-yarders, 50-yarders, and a 59-yarder already this year. So if this turns into a field goal kicking contest, that doesn't favor us. But I just feel like this could be – I'd be pretty surprised if Nebraska doesn't win. Especially the atmosphere is going to be crazy again. I feel like this could be a touchdown game or it could be a 3-touchdown game. So I'm going to go somewhere in the middle, and I'm going to go 28-13 Nebraska.
Ooh, I like that. I really do. The offense does just enough, not too much. Like Rule has said, he doesn't need to run up the score. He wants a comfortable lead. Then he just wants to pound the ball and run the clock. So I like that. 28-13, I'll take that any time. And especially opening conference play. Yes. To start conference play 1-0 would be perfect.
It was funny when Rule talked about boring in the fourth, and I forget the exact quote, that's what good teams are or whatever. I couldn't care less if you score 50 points or 0 points. Just score one more point than the other team, and I will be as excited as anybody you've ever met every single time that happens this year.
Yeah, you have no idea, Adam. I'm one of those that is such a homer, such a Kool-Aid guzzler. I can never, ever pick my Huskers to lose. I don't care how bleak it looks. I don't care how obvious it looks. I always go with my heart with Huskers. I have to. I never will falter from that. So I'm with you. I'm taking a W. We don't do the score predictions on this show no more because we started looking real stupid for the ones we were picking. So, yeah, as I said, I always said it with my heart. So it was almost never correct. And I looked very dumb. So just going to go with a W.
Well, like I said, it could be 3-2 or 59-58. As long as we got the 1 point higher score or more, I'm happy.
Exactly. I don't care if they outgain us. I don't care if they have time of possession. Whatever. Just have one more point than they do when that clock hits 000.
Works for me.
All right. So we'll go ahead and shut this one down. Guys, you know where to find the show at this point. You can find us on Twitter, Instagram, right there at Husker Army Pod. Find us on YouTube. Just Google Husker Army Podcast. Pops right up. Audio-only platforms, you'll find us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, I believe Amazon's podcast thing, whatever that is. You'll find it pretty much anywhere audio platforms only. So, and Adam, where's everybody going to find you on social media, and not to mention the Carriker Chronicles?
Yeah, so if you want to follow me on the medias of the social, it's Facebook, X. I resurrected my dead Instagram account. I hadn't put out a post on Instagram in 7 years, so that thing's been brought back to life. And now I'm on TikTok, and I am amazed at how much fun I'm having on that. It's like built for someone like me. Just grab the phone, be really dumb for about 30 to 60 seconds, send it out, and people seem to enjoy it, and it's growing, much to my surprise, pretty quickly. As far as the show, CarrikerChronicles.com. YouTube, just type in Carriker Chronicles. Also, we did with our first Chronicles back on August 25th, we did start putting our show on Apple and Spotify as well.
Nice. See, I'm so glad you got your own website and everything now. Everything's right there. You have great blogs on there. You've brought in some great podcasts to be featured on your website. One of them, oh my goodness, who was it? Was it BA, Ben Audi?
Yeah, he's on there. He does a great job.
Love the coach. Love having him on here. I love doing an episode with him for Colorado. Oh, that guy, and he's blowing up, and I knew he would. I knew it from the start.
Yeah, no, he does a phenomenal job, and you're right. He is growing quickly. He sent me a screenshot and a text the other day of what his subscribers were up to on YouTube. So I'm happy for him, and I know he's excited about it too. We talked back and forth on text as well, and yeah, he showed me the same thing. I was so happy for him. He's going to get monetized on YouTube, so that's great. All right, so Adam, here we go. We're done with this. I can't thank you enough for your time. This was a blast. This was an honor. So you got to be the first guest on what we're going to call RecoN, Husker Legends Briefing. So we'll go ahead and shut her down. Give you the old outro as we do on the normal podcast. So for myself, Bryan Knutzen, and for our guest, Adam Carriker on RecoN today, Husker Army, you know what to do. At ease, and you are all dismissed.
A Hurrdat Sports Network production.